Hello and welcome to the 16th and final installment in this 16-part tutorial series looking at how to learn programming using Scratch. Now, over the last 15 lessons, we've looked at a whole variety of core programming techniques and tools. And these techniques and tools will work whatever programming language you end up moving on to study. All programming languages share the basic building blocks. What separates them largely is how you construct those blocks and put them together. But once you understand the basic ideas, it's quite easy to start picking up the basics of almost any other programming language. So learning the basics in Scratch like this does work really well and is a really good starting point for many beginners. So what are we looking at then in this tutorial today? Well, last lesson we looked at using something called arrays, and we understood that arrays are simply something very similar to variables where we can store something in the computer's memory that we can then retrieve or get later on. We understood that arrays or lists are different to variables because whereas a variable can store one single bit of information, an array is a numbered list of lots of different bits of information. And we created this program last time, which was to create a planet lookup, a sort of a very simple database program, I suppose you could call it here, where the user entered the name of a planet and the computer then used two arrays to look up the information about a planet and then give us that information. So if you are looking at this tutorial on YouTube, then hopefully you've seen that previous lesson. If not, then head back and have a look at that one first perhaps. Unless you're confident with arrays already in Scratch. If, however, you are looking at this on the computerscience.click website, then of course you are just about ready to collect your certificate. So if you are on YouTube, have a little look at computerscience.click, register totally free, and you can sign up for this Scratch course. And there'll be tests and quizzes as you go through. And when you get to the end, then you will get a personalized named certificate. And that's something that you can then print off. And there'll be lots of other courses as well. This course is focused really just on learning the basics of programming. Of course, a lot of Scratch tutorials just get started with moving sprites around and creating those sort of games. And certainly on the computerscience.click website, there are other tutorials that do look at creating, say, a platform game or a Pac-Man game in Scratch. This is really focusing on core programming though. And in this last lesson, we're going to put a few things together and create an insult generator. So this is a program which will potentially insult someone a million different ways, 1 million unique insults, which is more than even some of my students can manage in a single day. The core programming tools we're going to be looking at in this video are variables, strings, concatenation, random numbers, and arrays. Now, if any of those you're not sure about, perhaps have a little look back at some of the previous tutorials. As I say, this is the 16th tutorial, so there's a lot that we've covered already, and some of those words hopefully will be familiar to you. So let's get started and have a look then. What I'm going to do is get rid of all of this code. Now, in Scratch, it's important to be aware that this code is not just sitting in a general window for any part of the game to use. On the right-hand side here, I have my sprites. I've only got one sprite, and that is, of course, then the selected sprite. And so all of this code is only linked to that one sprite. And for this insult generator, I'm going to add a new sprite. I don't think it makes much sense for a rocket to be insulting you. So I'm going to go down and find, let's find one of my students. I'm not going to name names, obviously. That would be terrible, but I'm pretty sure somewhere in here there is a goblin. There we go. Lovely. Fantastic. Who appears to be riding a spaceship. There we are. So there we are. That's one of my fantastic students then. So, and yes, it could be you if you are one of my students. But that code now is gone. So you'll see this window is now blank because I've selected the goblin sprite. If I click on the rocket ship sprite, now I've got my code back again. So because I don't want the rocket ship and I don't want any of that code, I can click this delete button, this little bin here, and get rid of that sprite. That gets rid of all of the code that went with that sprite. On the left hand side I have some arrays. I've got my planets array, which I will delete by right clicking it. My descriptions array, I'll get rid of that. I've also got 2 variables, I'll delete that as well. So I'm starting completely from scratch here. Now our goblin seems to be floating in space. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm going to click down here at the bottom right and choose a background. And I think our goblin would probably look good in the wetland scene. So there we go. We've got my little goblin there who's going to be terribly rude. I might make him slightly larger. Let's just change the size to 150. Make him a little bit bigger. There we go. That's lovely. Right. So how are we going to make an insult generator using arrays? Well, I'm going to start off by just grabbing the green flag block here, like that. And I'm going to right click it and add a comment. Now I've done this a few times in previous videos in this series, and I've explained that each time I do add a comment, it's been largely because of concatenation, and it's a really helpful way of being able to, especially when you are concatenating, write out what you want it to say eventually using some combination of the variables, and then we can construct the concatenated string using that. Let me explain what I mean. I'm going to write out an insult. So I'm going to say something like, you are a stinky, which I can't write, a stinky idiot. There we are. I'll keep it nice and short for this one. So this is a very short one. We will be able to look at how to create really long, complicated insults that use all sorts of different parts to it, but we'll keep it simple just to begin with. You are a stinky idiot. Now that's the kind of insult I'm looking for. However, the word stinky won't always be the word stinky. Sometimes I might want something like, you are a smelly. And I don't always want the word idiot either. So let's put the word fool in there. Or I might have, you are a, let's think another one, a noisy buffoon. There we go. So I think that's 2 Fs, is it? 2 Fs, 1 F? 2 Fs. Yes, there we are. Got it right first time. So you are a stinky idiot, you're a smelly fool, you're a noisy buffoon. Those are the kind of insults that I'm looking to create. But if you look at that sentence, you can see that some parts of it are always the same. So the words you are a, that's the first part, which is always the same. Then we have, and I'm going to put this in sort of little brackets here, we have a word which you can see that's an adjective. It's describing the noun, the object. So this is some random adjective. And then we've got another word which is going to be different afterwards. That's a thing, an idiot, a fool, a buffoon. So that's some random noun in there. And then we have a full stop. So this insult is made up of 4 parts. 1 are the words you are a. Part 2 is the adjective. Part 3 will be a noun. And then part 4 will be the full stop. So now we can see how we're going to create the insult. So we need to have the words you are a, and then a random adjective, and then a random noun. So what we're going to do now is create, at the very beginning of our program, I'm going to drag this out over here, we're going to create a new array of rude adjectives. So we'll go to variables and we'll go into the make a list. So arrays in Scratch, remember, are called lists, and we're going to call this adjective. There we go. And at the beginning of the program, when we first run it, we want to get rid of or clear the list. So we will delete anything that's in there now. So we have a fresh empty list at the beginning. Right, let's add some adjectives to this array. We'll use the ones that I have in that description over there to begin with. So we'll have the word stinky. We'll also have the word smelly. And we'll also have the word noisy. There we go. So that is the adjective array created. Now, obviously, we can have as many as we want in here. You could have 10, 15, 20 adjectives, and that would just simply mean that your insult generator could come up with an even wider range of unique insults. But we also want an array for the noun over here. So let's click Make a List again and have a noun list. And I'll just untick these two so they're not displayed in the game itself. So when we start the game, we'll also want to delete all of, where is it? Delete all of the nouns. So again, we have a new fresh list at the beginning. And then we're going to add some items to the noun list. So we had idiot. We also had fool. And we had buffoon with 2 Fs. There we go. I'm also being fairly polite in this video tutorial. You can, of course, be as rude and obnoxious as you choose. So we've now created our 2 arrays, and we can have as many items in there as we want, and eventually we'll have many, many more arrays. So what we'll do with our green flag over here, we'll keep things simple to begin with and we'll add more features afterwards. So to keep it simple, we're just going to have the words you are a, then a random adjective, random noun, and then our full stop. Now, in order to choose a random number, we're going to have to go into the operators section, which is where sort of maths and number stuff happens, and this pick random. So we're going to go into that one in a moment. We're also going to have to concatenate all this. So we're going to looks and grab the say hello, although we're not going to be saying hello. We'll be a lot ruder than that. Let me just close that up for the moment. In fact, what I'll do is I'll bring that down, open that up so we can just compare the two. Let me zoom in slightly more. I think we can just about fit it. Yes, we can. Right, so let's concatenate then the words you are a and then a random adjective. So if you've looked through these tutorials before, you might remember where the concatenation block is. You might remember what color it is. You might even remember what the code word is, what the programming word is that we use. So if you said that it was green and it was in operators, you're right. And if you said it was the join block, fantastic. So we are going to join the words you are a, and don't forget to put a space after the word a, so that the next word is spaced after it. And then we want to have in this bit here, not a banana. You are a banana. Well, that's a good insult anyway, but you are a, and now we want to choose a random item from our adjectives array. So we're going to go to variables and we're going to find item and then a number of adjectives. So that's certainly what we want to do. We want to join the words you are a with an item from our adjective array. But we don't always want to use number 1. They might well be stinky, but we don't always want to use the word stinky. So we're going to have a random number here. So we'll go into operators and grab the random number block and put that there instead. So now we're going to have a you are a random number between 1 and 10 of the adjective array. But hang on, that can't be right. A number between 1 and 10. Well, there are only 3 items in our adjective array. Okay, well, we could then simply change this number here to a 3. Well, that would work, but it's not good programming. Because the problem is that, yes, we only have 3 items in our adjectives array now, but we're probably going to add to that. And if we add to it, we suddenly come up with a really good word or suddenly think of another couple of really good insults we could use. We could add those to our array really easily by just simply adding another one of these blocks here. But of course, every time we add another adjective, we're going to have to then remember to go back to this line here, find this number and change it. And that's easy to do, to forget. It's easy to forget, and we're going to end up with a lot of these join lines with a lot of numbers. It would be easy to get that wrong. So the best and safest way of doing it is, instead of typing in here the number 3, is to say to the computer, we'll go and have a look at the adjective array, you count up how many items there are in it, and use that number, put that in there. And we can do that. If we go to the variables section there, we can do length of the adjective array. We used this in the last lesson 15, and so this will count up the number of items there are in the adjective array. In this case, yes, it is 3, but if we were to add another one, we could simply add it in here, and this would automatically count how many there are now. So let me just zoom out a little bit now, because this whole concatenation bit here needs one more bit. Remember, we have this comment over here that says we need the words you are a adjective, we've got that, but then we have to join a noun. But actually we don't just have to join a noun, because there is a little bit here in between those two variables, or those two words, and there's a space. So we're going to have to join a space after that and then the noun. So let's go and grab our operators. Let's grab another join here, and we're going to join everything that we've got so far on the left hand side and then a space. And all I'm going to do here is type a space. Simple as that. But now we need the noun. So we're going to have to join all of this to a random noun. So let's just move all this up for a moment. Remember, all of this that we're doing is going to go inside this bit here, but we can create it on the left, just underneath here, first of all, just to keep things organized. So we need another join block, which is going to connect everything that we've done so far in the left-hand half. And in the right-hand half, we're going to have our random noun, which is going to pretty much be the same as this block here, where we're getting an item from the nouns list, and of course the random number is going to be between 1 and whatever the length of the noun list is. So we can just duplicate that orange block that contains the green block that contains the orange block. We can copy that, duplicate that, and change those, or rebuild it. It's up to you. So again, now that we've just said what the length of the noun array is, if we add more items to the noun array later on, this will automatically know. So let's put this in the right-hand side. Be careful not to drop it there. Don't forget that's the space between the two words. So we'll drop it in the right-hand side. And now we need the final bit. This is a very long line of code now. The final bit, of course, is the full stop. So we need another join. Everything we've done so far goes on the left. And on the far right hand side, which I'm only going to be able to get to, let's just scroll across there. I'm going to zoom in a bit so you can see this. I'm going to type a full stop just there. So there we go. That is the line of code. That's going to go into this say box, and all of that is going to go up and happen as soon as we click that green flag. So let's have a look and see how this works so far. There is our goblin, and I'm going to click the green flag. You are a smelly fool. Very good. Click the green flag again. You are a stinky idiot. Oh well, we got the same one. You are a stinky idiot. You're a noisy buffoon. You're a stinky idiot. It likes that one, doesn't it? You're a stinky fool. So you can see we're getting different combinations. So we're getting any one of these adjectives and any one of these nouns. And if we wanted to, we could add a few more in. Let's just split that for a moment and add another couple of adjectives. So let's just add 2 of these adjectives. Let's have the word dribbling and annoying. There we go. And then connect that back up, and let's also add another couple of nouns while we're at it. So we'll add 2 more nouns, and we'll have idiot, fool, buffoon. By the way, if you can't think of words to insult people, then what you can go to is thesaurus.com, and if I just bring this tab over here like that, and we were to look up the word idiot in here, there we go, we can see that we've got a variety of words that we can use here. So let's just move that across there, and I'm going to go for twit, and we'll also have moron. There we go. Lovely. So now when I run the program, don't forget that I haven't changed, where is it? I haven't changed anything over here, so it's still going to look at the length of my adjective array. Now that is 5, of course, there are 5 items in there, so it will now pick a random number between 1 and 5. And the same with my noun array, because I didn't just type the number 5 in there, or the number 3 rather, which I had before. If I'd typed the number 3 in there, I would now have to go back in and change that 3. And it'd be very easy for me to make a mistake. So by using this block, we're automatically saying to the computer, you keep a track of how many items there are in the array and just use that number. So let's see if we get some of those new words there. There we are. Stinky idiot. It really likes stinky idiot, doesn't it, this one? You are a dribbling buffoon. So I had the word dribbling there, which is new. Buffoon was in the old list. A smelly idiot. Smelly fool. Smelly moron. There we go. So we've got a variety of different combinations there. Now, if you want to work out how many different combinations there are, then simply take the number of adjectives and multiply it by the number of nouns. So we've got 5 of these, 5 of the nouns, 5 times 5. So that's 25 possible different insults. Well, that's fine. 25 different insults is good, but it's probably not enough. So how can you create, potentially, as I said before, 1,000,000 different insults? Well, there are 2 things you'll need to do. One is you will need to add more items to each of these arrays. I would recommend at least 10 items in each array. But the second thing to do is to make this sentence here a lot longer. So let me show you an example of how we could do that. I'm going to just pull this down here for the moment so that I can zoom in and show you some examples. So I could have something like, you are an annoying, stinky idiot who likes collecting old toilet rolls and thinks that gutters are fascinating. There we go. So there is an insult. Now let's break that apart and see how many arrays we'd need. So we'd need to have, let me just copy that sentence out actually, I think, rather than writing it out again. So you are a is going to be, or you are an, is going to be the same part at the beginning. Here we're going to have an adjective. We'll call it adjective 1. Here we've got another adjective, so that could be adjective 2. And then we have a noun. We'll call that noun 1. Who likes collecting old toilet rolls. Old could be an adjective. We could have old, we could have used, we could have soggy, we could have all sorts of different words in there. So that's another adjective, so we'll call that adjective 3. Toilet rolls, again, lots of different things we could have there, bandages, whatever. So that will be another noun, so we'll call that noun 2. And thinks that gutters, so again, disgusting things, poo, whatever. So that's another noun, so that's noun 3, are fascinating. You could have the word fascinating as another array if you want to. But now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different arrays. And they are different arrays because we wouldn't want to have the same list. I've misspelled adjective there, haven't I? We wouldn't want to have the same list of adjectives here as here, because we could end up with something like, you are a stinky, stinky idiot. We'll use the word stinky twice there. We'd want to make sure that those 2 adjectives are always different. And so what we'd do is we'd have one list of adjectives for adjective 1, a second for adjective 2, and so on. And our nouns would also have to all be different. So here, the noun 1 array is going to be things like idiot, fool, buffoon, moron. Noun 2 is going to be disgusting things, toilet rolls, bandages, tea bags, whatever. And then noun 3 is going to be something else. So gutters, sewers, bogies, whatever. So you could have a list of adjectives, nouns there. So if we were to have 10 items in each of these arrays, then that would be 10. Oops. Click down here again, show you how to work this out. So that would be 10 for adjective. Oops, I've just deleted that, haven't I? There we go. Try it again, shall we? 10 for the adjective 1 times 10 for adjective 2 times 10 for noun 1 times 10 for adjective 3 times 10 for noun 2 times 10 for noun 3. So what does that all equal? Well, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lists there. So that's a 1 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros after it. And I'm going to put a comma in there so we can see what we've got, and that is 1,000,000. So potentially 1,000,000 different insults could be generated using that kind of sentence there. So if you create your 5 arrays with 10 different items in each one, and you then concatenate them, you could end up with 1,000,000 different insults. I'm not going to build that in this video because that would take far too long, and I think you got the idea anyway. If you have any problems or questions, you can obviously leave a comment below. That's not a problem. The other thing that you could do as well, which again I'm not going to demonstrate in this video, it's just a suggestion. I think you know how to do it, and if you don't, look back at some of the other videos in this series. But that is, you could ask them their name to begin with. So what is your name? I would enter Justin, and then it will say to me, hello Justin, you are, and then the insult. So that just makes the insult a little bit more personal. So what I think would be a good idea for you to do now is to create from scratch a new insult generator, so a new program. Keep it simple. So use something like I have done here with just 1 adjective and 1 noun. Keep it simple. That's really important when you are programming. Don't try and jump straight ahead and make the most complex version of the program you're looking to try and build. Start simple. Get one thing working. The moment you have 2 different things working in a program before you've tested it, if something goes wrong, you're not going to know for certain which one of them is causing the problem. However, if you keep it simple and you make one thing work and there's a problem, you know where the problem is, you can fix it, get that working, then add something on top of that. So keep it simple. Test your program, get it working first. If you need to come back and have a look at this video, then that's fine. Obviously, just have a quick look at the code, but try and do it without looking as far as you can. And then once you've got a simple version working, then start to add more things on. Now, I will tell you that with the 5 different arrays potentially here, you are going to have a phenomenal number of joins here. This is going to be the longest line of code you've ever seen in Scratch, probably. It is going to be fearsome. And because it's going to be scary long, you don't want to start building that in one go. You've seen how I concatenate, how I create a join, put everything I've got so far on the left and add one thing on the right. Then put another join in, everything goes on the left, add the one thing to the right. So I build up concatenation one thing at a time and then test it. Because if you have a long line of code, which you're going to end up with, and it doesn't work, it's going to be next to impossible to try and work out where the problem is. So keep it simple, build it up one thing at a time, test it regularly, and then of course once you've got your insult generator generating 1,000,000 different personal insults, make sure you test it out on people. It's hilarious. My students, when they've done this at school, love testing it out using my name. Wonderful ideas, and there you go. So that brings us to the end of this course. So the whole course, obviously 16 lessons here, is about learning programming, not specifically learning Scratch. So now that you understand the concepts of programming, what you can now do is to have a look at some of the other tutorials available on the computerscience.click website, so that you can learn, for example, how to create your own platform game and how to create your own Pac-Man game and other little games like that. Of course, if you understand some of the basics already, you can create simple text and number-based games, but then these other games, once you start working through those tutorials, will make a little bit more sense to you, and you'll understand a little bit more about how to create programs. And of course, what you can also do is have a look on the website at tutorials using other languages. The next one I would recommend having a look at is Small Basic. That's a text-based language, so you write the code out yourself rather than using block coding, but the basic principles are the same. So you've still got all those same things, the ones we looked at just now, all the arrays, the variables, loops, if statements, they're all the same. You just have to write the words out rather than drag the blocks out. So that'd be the next step to look at. So I hope you've enjoyed this. If you're on the computerscience.click website, then your next step is to complete the final test, the final quiz. If you manage to pass that, then you will get your personalized certificate, so well done if you do that. You'll also get extra XP and the opportunity to boost up your rank, your level in the website challenge as well. And if you're looking on this on YouTube, then either, of course, click subscribe so that you know when the next tutorial series goes live. And if you liked it, give a thumbs up to this video. Any questions, any problems, any comments, leave them below. And otherwise, I wish you the very best of luck with learning your programming with Scratch, and hope to see you in a future video tutorial. Bye for now.